Hello, fellow rebel capitalists. Hope you're well. Thanksgiving weekend. Hope you enjoyed it with your friends and family. I have a huge announcement for everyone tonight at midnight. So call it, midnight. I believe it's Eastern time. Maybe it's Western time. I don't know. One of those time zones. Tonight at midnight, tickets go on sale for the next Rebel Capitalist Live. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida, May 12th through the 14th. Tickets are not on sale right now. I want to repeat, but they go on sale tonight at midnight. And what I want to emphasize for you is we've got a 24-hour Cyber Monday sale, and it lasts from tonight at midnight. I'm not sure what time zone to tomorrow night at midnight. So only 24 hours, Cyber Monday. If you want to get a $100 discount for your Rebel Capitalist Live tickets, all you have to do is go to Rebel Capitalist Live. Actually, let me do a screen share. And it's right here, rebelcapitalistlive.com. And you get a little promo clip that we did that's got really just kind of the highlights from the last couple Rebel Capitalist Lives that we've done. And you can see some of the past speakers we've had. And this kind of gives you what the subjects will be, the topics. Here are the speakers that we have confirmed so far. And this is always kind of a work in progress. Kenny's going to be there, Hartman, Robert Barnes, Robert Helms, my good friend from the Real Estate Guy, is going to be the MC. And Chris McIntosh himself has confirmed. That is super, super exciting. And I've got emails out to another probably 12 or 13 people that are going to be at this level and even better. It's going to blow your mind. So you can go to rebelcapitalistlive.com tonight, again, at midnight, or tomorrow when you wake up, and you just go. It's pretty easy. You just go down here and buy tickets, and pretty self-explanatory. And then you'll get an email that gives you a link to a discounted hotel rate, so you can book your hotel room at the same venue where we're actually having Rebel Capitalist Live. So again, just for the last time here, if you buy your tickets tonight at midnight through tomorrow night at midnight or Cyber Monday, you'll get a $100 discount. Usually the tickets are $597. And if you buy them during the Cyber Monday sale, it will be $497. But keep in mind, if you go there right now or after the live stream, the tickets aren't for sale. You can't buy them. You just get this. Here you go. You just kind of get this. Tickets are not currently available. So again, that will change tonight at midnight. So definitely check that out and get your tickets to the next Rebel Capitalist Live in Orlando, Florida, May 12th through the 14th. Can't wait to see all you guys there. All right, let's get into your questions. What do we have for this evening? All right, will CBDC be a possible mechanism to cancel decreased debt with the old currency deemed worthless? No. I don't know why people, I get this question a lot. I don't know. I don't know how people have gone down this path. This is not that this isn't a good question. It's a great question, but I don't know how people's thinking has led themselves to believe that somehow the old currency will be deemed like you have a mortgage that's denominated in dollars. So when we have a central bank digital currency, which will be denominated in dollars, somehow that makes the contract null and void. And we're completely abandoning the dollar, and we're moving to Fed coin, and therefore any green pieces of paper that you have are now worthless. I don't know. I don't know if there's like a YouTube person that's like saying that. I'm confused. No. The CBDC, whatever it's called, Fed coin, or it'll be bank reserves. It'll be bank reserves that you can just spend in the real economy. And bank reserves, as we know right now, are denominated in dollars. So the quote unquote cash, or some of the cash on JP Morgan's balance sheet that they have at the Fed, So their asset liability to the Federal Reserve, those bank reserves that we hear about all the time, those are denominated in dollars. They're basically a central bank digital currency, although they're not really programmable like a CBDC will most likely be. But they're I mean, it's very close to it, or at least the way they function. So yeah, I don't. Again, I don't know how people have come to this conclusion, but it's not accurate. A discount conversion. There won't be. I don't think there'll be a conversion. Um, I mean, maybe if you've got like your dollars that are a liability of B of A, and you've got dollars that are a liability to the Fed, they could say, hey, if you move your account over to the Fed, we'll give you 5% additional dollars or something. Maybe. I think that's the least of my concern. There's a lot of things that I'm far more concerned with the central bank digital currency. Would help facilitate QTR and uneducated economists communications, so they might do a video together. The people have spoken. Oh, your question is how would you make that happen? I would just text Chris. I don't know if you can DM him on Twitter. I used to have that DM function open to everybody. And then I wish I could, but I just started getting so many people that were not just trolls, but people that were like sending me death threats and like really serious stuff. And so I had to turn it off, unfortunately. So now the only people that can DM me are people that I DM or that kind of follow me. It sucks. I wish it didn't have to be that way. But anyway, my point is I don't know if Chris has that function turned on, but that's kind of where I'd start. Maybe he's got an email address on his Substack or something like that. Shoot him an email and say, hey, check out the uneducated economists, get him on. Because I know they'd get along great. So I think it's a super idea. Is Colombian peso goodbye? No. Nope. Not so long as Petro's in charge. Now, what is a good buy is if you can denominate your expenses in pesos. That's a good buy. What is the percentage of my assets should be? Well, I can't tell you that specifically, Joey. Uh, I can't really give specific investment advice for obvious reasons because I don't know your situation. But I can just tell you what I do, and I keep 10% of my. It's a moving target, right? I try to like if I did my whole portfolio right now and my entire net worth, would exactly 10% be in gold? No, because it's very fluid. My net worth changes. Well, I guess I'd like to believe that it goes up every single month, but it's always changing, right? But that's what I kind of shoot for. That's my target. As far as silver, I don't have any percentage that it should or shouldn't be, just because I see gold as really the insurance policy. Silver, maybe for some people, I think there's a good argument there, but I think gold is more of a pure play on insurance, if you will. And silver might be a little bit better speculation. And then I think the miners are the really good speculative asset right now. Not that I'm buying them, but definitely on the watch list. I'm desperate to get out of 9 to 5. What are some fast ways to make 3K a month? Well, create content. I mean, I think that's probably the fastest way. Just take whatever it is that you have expertise in. And I was having this conversation with someone today actually, and their expertise is teaching English. Um, but the way they look at themselves is they say, "Oh, well, I could never create my own content because there's so many people out there that know how to teach English or to teach Spanish better than I do." And I said, "No, no, no. You don't understand YouTube. the way YouTube works and content creation in general, and podcasting too, but specifically, I think this really applies to podcasting and YouTube, is let's just say we can rank people based on their skill level from 1 to 10. And the 10 number people don't know anything about, let's say, Spanish. And the 1 people are expert professionals. And a lot of the people that are at 5 or 6 or even 4, they think, oh, well, I could never teach Spanish because there's people out there that are a 1. And I was telling this person, I said, no, that you can't think that way, because a lot of people that are at the 10 level, the very beginning level, or the 9 level, they don't want to learn from a 1 because they can't understand what the hell they're saying. And this might be better. This might be more applicable to engineering or something like that. And but the concept's the same. It's they want to learn from someone that's a 5 or someone that's at 6. It's just a couple levels above them. And then the 5 and 6 people want to learn from the 4 and 3 people. And the 4 and 3 people want to learn from the 1 person. It's very rare that you get someone that's a 1 that is that has universal appeal. There's some out there, but it's a good example. I'll use my buddy. Well, maybe I shouldn't name any names. That's probably not a good idea. But you guys get my point there. So, and then another thing that people think is that, oh, well, I teach, my area of expertise is teaching English or something like that. And there's so many other English teachers out there on YouTube that I'm not even going to try. No. Don't, you got to understand that there's going to be people out there that gravitate to you, not because you teach English, but because of your personality. This is what is very hard for like non-creators to get their head around. It's just like, you guys can relate. Why the hell do you tune into my YouTube channel? Is it just because we're sitting here talking about macroeconomics or freedom? No. It's because for whatever reason, there's something about my personality that you guys like. And to me, that seems bizarre because I think I'm a very unlikable person. But I don't know why on earth anyone would like anything about my personality, but or the whiteboard videos. There's just something that makes it unique. Because I have some magical insight as to how the Fed's balance sheet works? Maybe I understand it better than most, but it doesn't mean that I have a monopoly on that. It's just that for whatever reason, that subscriber would prefer to hear about the Fed's balance sheet from me rather than person XYZ. And it boils down to their personality. And this is what's so cool about it, but so very few people understand that it's not what makes the content great is not just about your level of expertise, but it's about your willingness to be authentic. And if you are willing to be authentic and make mistakes and flub your words, it's one of the reasons why I do live streams with 0 editing. And it's one of the main reasons why I do, 3 or 4 or 5 sometimes live streams a day on the Rebel Capitalist channel with no editing, none, 0. It's because I don't care if people see me make a mistake. I don't care if people see me lose my train of thought, which I do often, because I'm only trying to communicate with the people that want to be a part of that Rebel Capitalist community. And in order to do that effectively, I've just got to be myself and I have to be authentic. And the real George Gammon is far from perfect. So if that's the real George Gammon, you got to show him your imperfections. And that's another thing that people are very afraid to do. But my point here is that's what separates you from the other content creators. And that's what makes you unique. And fortunately, the YouTube algorithm is good enough to where it's going to find people that not only like what you talk about, but like your personality. And it's going to present your video to them. So there's a higher likelihood that they subscribe and continue to consume your content. So those are, and why I went over that is because those are the biggest hurdles that most of the people that I encourage to create content, those are the biggest hurdles they have. And I would argue those are roadblocks that do not exist. And we as human beings are very, very good at creating roadblocks that don't exist. So this is what I would tell you, man. I mean, you got a 9 to 5, that's great. So you've got some dependable income coming in, but that just means you've got probably 2 or 3 hours a day, unless you got a bunch of kids or something. And then on the weekends that you could allocate to creating content. And it's hard. It is, but it's not impossible. And everyone's an expert at something. And I think the ecosystem of people that consume content from decentralized creators, whether it's YouTube, Rumble, what have you, is only going to grow. I know even me. I mean, I never watch TV anymore. Never, ever, ever. Even when I'm sitting down and relaxing and eating dinner, what do? I turn on YouTube, for heaven's sakes. My mom is like, well, I'm not going to say how old she is because she always gets mad at me for saying how old she is on live streams. Hi, Mom. I know you're probably watching. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. But even my mom that's what she does. She watches YouTube instead of TV. And so this is the way the world is going, the direction it's headed. And I don't think it's ever going to be too late for you or anyone else to start creating content, because you can sit there and say that your niche is saturated, but it's not, because it's not just about your niche, it's about your personality. And there's no other person out there like you. You're special from that standpoint. And that's what is just as important as the level of expertise you have. And so just keep that in mind. And then I think if you're doing this consistently, if you're able to post, like, let's say 3 times a week, and you're focused on, the back end analytics and understanding the editing is huge. Editing is really, really big. And now why do I say that when I say that I never edit? Because what brings people into the ecosystem to begin with is the whiteboard videos. Very few of or a very low percentage of my subscribers are due to live streams, and very, very few are due to interviews. That's why I pretty much stopped doing interviews, because unless it's just someone I want to talk to based on a specific topic, because it just doesn't really move the needle. And I've been very fortunate now to meet many of the people that I like to talk to and kind of bounce ideas back and forth. So that isn't as much of a benefit for the Rebel Capitalist show as far as the interviews as it used to be. But my point there is that people get 90%, 95% of the people get sucked in to the George Gammon ecosystem, for lack of a better way to describe it, through the whiteboard videos. And the main key with those whiteboard videos is editing. It's all about the editors. And for those of you who don't know my backstory, at the beginning of 2019, I did a TV show here in Medellin, Colombia, called Vida en Remodelación. It was on a little local station called Telemedellin. And I was the executive producer. And I, believe it or not, I starred in the show as well. I pretty much did everything. I directed. And because I had to put the show together myself and then deliver it to the TV station every Friday or whatever, I had to hire all the editors. And then not only that, I had no experience in TV whatsoever, none. So I had to learn. I had to figure it out. I had to figure out how to produce a high-level TV show, reality TV show built around kind of real estate investing, just like those HGTV shows that you see. I had to figure that out very quickly. And when I mean very quickly, I mean in about 2 or 3 weeks. And then as we did every single episode, we did 13 episodes in season one, if my memory serves me right. Each episode got a lot better. And by the end, 8, 9, 10, I would put up the episodes we did against anything that you see on HGTV as far as the entertainment value and the level of quality. But uh, when we stopped doing season one, that's when I started the YouTube channel. And we were initially planning on going back and doing a season two, but we never did because the YouTube channel took off. And I liked the YouTube channel a lot better. Because I got to talk about stuff that I like to talk about even more than real estate, which is macroeconomics. But then also you could completely control it. And there was some politics and bureaucracy with the TV station that I didn't like. But my point there is that I understood editing very, very well, and I understood the psychological dynamics between or the psychological components of editing to increase engagement on a reality TV show. So we were able to take that skill set and apply it to the whiteboard videos. Not at the very beginning, because at the very beginning we were just throwing everything up against a wall to see what sticks, but we were able to refine that process, understanding the psychology behind why people continue to watch a YouTube video. And for the most part, especially with the whiteboard videos, it's all about the editing, all about the editing. So anyway, but you'll start to understand that better as you continue to create content and just do more of what works and less of what doesn't. And you would be surprised at how, I shouldn't say easy, but how realistic it is to make $3,000 a month in passive income on YouTube, even if you're not making that much on AdSense, which is the revenue split that you get with YouTube. So, I don't want to go over specific numbers, although I have on past videos. But, between the Rebel Capitalist channel and the George Gammon channel, we get about maybe 3 million views roughly per month. And with those 3 million views, just in AdSense, we do um, we do 5 figures a month. I'll just leave it at that. So, with 3 grand a month, just with AdSense, and that doesn't include any back end products that you have, like doing consulting, in your area of expertise, all these things. Bottom line is that's not easy, but it's very, very realistic. So that's where I'd start. And don't give up your 9 to 5 because you've got that income coming in, and that's always nice. Just use that to pay the bills while you're building your kind of your brand online with that content. And I think that solves the problem right there. In today's day and age, that's where I'd start for sure. If Argentina does not have inflation because of money printing, then does Argentina have inflation because of social programs, corruption, low? Well, I would have to look into Argentina specifically, but I would argue that they probably do have a problem due to money printing because so much of their debt was denominated in dollars. So the problem is when you have something that you have to pay for that's denominated in a currency you can't print, you got big problems, big problems. And we see this playing out in Turkey. So Turkey's issue is I don't know how much dollar denominated debt they had. I doubt they would have as large a percentage as Argentina has had in the past. Now their current situation I'm not too familiar with, but pretty much the principles are the same. Turkey's problem is energy. So they have to have dollars to buy the energy they need. They can't settle in Turkish lira. So usually they have dollar cash flow coming in from their exporting and whatnot. And that gives the system itself enough dollars to circulate and buy the energy they need. But if they don't have those dollars coming in, now they're screwed. And what do? Well, they literally have to create not just base money, but they have to create broad money. to pay for those the energy to settle in dollars. And so what they have to do is print their own currency, broad money, get it out in circulation by buying dollars, right? So now all of a sudden, even if it started as bank reserves, those bank reserves are now not just a liability of the central bank, but they're now turned into, now they're backing up actual currency units that are liabilities of the commercial banking system. See, now we've gone from broad money to base, or excuse me, from base money to broad money. Big difference. And it has to be in circulation in broad money because they have to sell those Turkish lira in order to buy dollars to buy the oil. So then you're creating more demand for dollars and you're creating more supply of the Turkish lira, which makes the currency tank. And then, of course, the currency tanks relative to the price of the stuff that they need to continually import, which causes, or is really, shouldn't say it causes it altogether, but it's a huge tailwind for consumer price inflation, right? Because think about it. If you're, same thing with Japan, although they don't have as much of an issue with dollars because they are such a massive exporter. But if you're importing oil for, let's just say the global price for oil is $100 a barrel. But if your currency devalues against the dollar by 50%, now all of a sudden that barrel of oil, you have to have more of your Turkish lira to buy that barrel of oil in dollars. And then that input cost goes through the system. So everyone that needs oil, or let's say fossil fuels or whatever it is, that input goes into their cost, and that Turkish lira price goes up, and therefore the price they charge the consumer has to go up as well. And then it's combined with, and this is the key component here, it's combined with additional M2 money supply. See, when the input costs go up and it's not combined with additional M2 money supply, you might not get sustained inflation. You could get big inflation spikes, but it might not be sustained. And that's kind of a philosophical question that I've struggled with for quite some time. And I don't know that there's a definitive answer there. But if you have input costs going up and you have M2 money supply going up, I mean, you're almost guaranteed to get consumer price inflation in that scenario. So this is kind of how I'd answer the question is I'm sure social programs and corruption, low productivity have a lot to do with it. But I think that they are actually money printing as defined by not just increasing base money, but increasing broad money. What do I think of Panama? Uh, okay, okay, it's not ideal for me, but I mean nothing is in today's world. That's for sure. So it depends on what your priorities are. I mean, I'm someone that I really enjoy going to, I guess, cultural events, for lack of a better term. Not to sound too snobby or something, but I do like going to a concert. I like going to live music. I like going to a theater. I used to love going to Broadway. Love it, love it, love it. I used to love going back to Vegas to visit my mom because I could go down and see one of the shows. Uh, I've seen Jersey Boys, I mean, countless number of times. And but I don't really, I would never watch like opera or ballet like on TV, but going to it live, like it's cool, it's fun. I enjoy it. It's just like NASCAR. I would never watch NASCAR like live, but going to it, or I would never watch NASCAR on TV, but going to it live, you got to do that. Like that's an experience. And I haven't spent a lot of time in Panama, but I just don't know that. I don't know that there's going to be a Panamanian Philharmonic. So, not that that means everything, but I just like to be very nimble with my current location, understanding that in 6 months I might need to go somewhere else based on, Henderson saying, go where you're treated best. Um, and I would rather take that approach than just commit myself to some place for the next 10 years. the world just changes too quickly. And the fact of the matter is, there is no place that's perfect right now, but there are places to spend some time where I think that may change in the next 6 months. That's for sure, but that may have some that may have a lifestyle that I find a little more appealing than like a maybe a Panama, like Panama City. I don't know what you could do other than maybe go to the beach and go shopping. And I mean, it's kind of like Singapore in a sense. It just doesn't. I don't know what the hell else you'd do. Where here in Medellin, I mean, it's just absolutely limitless, limitless. Whether you're going to the beach, you're going to the lake, you're going to. I mean, I just went to up to a little heritage location, if you want to call it that, called Santa Fe, that used to be the capital of the local state here, with a cobblestone road, just exploring all that stuff. I think there would be some things to explore in Panama, but it just wouldn't be the same. So, but again, that's based on my priorities. Your priorities could be completely different. And there's only one way to truly know, and that's just to take 2 weeks and go there and just check it out yourself. And you may hate it, you may love it, but you're never going to know just asking random blowhards on YouTube like myself. Or you're never going to know just by reading a website or watching a YouTube video or whatever it is. You just got to go there and check it out and get a vibe for it. If I were to start my real estate investing career, where would you invest right now? Boy, hmm, man, good question. If you could put a gun to my head and said I had to buy something right now, mm, boy, it definitely wouldn't be in one of these emerging markets, because I think there's more opportunity in the emerging markets, but you got to be real careful, because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get your butt handed to you real fast. And places like Canada and the United States, they're far more friendly for the noobs, let's say. Now, if you're a Kenny McElroy or a Jason Hartman, or maybe I might put myself in that category to a certain degree, then yeah, I could say Dubai, I could say Turkey, I could say all these places. But if you're an absolute noob, yikes, it's far better to learn and make your mistakes in kind of Australia. Well, I think the United States is probably the best place to kind of learn the craft. But I don't I wouldn't wanna buy anything right now in the United States, ironically enough, unless I was an expert and I really, really knew what I was doing. I think what I would probably do, Angel, is I would start my real estate investing career by not investing in real estate. And I know that sounds stupid, but what I mean is there are other things you can do that are almost identical to real estate from the standpoint of the skill set you need to have. I've talked about flipping trucks, and I know it sounds crazy and stupid, but I've done both very, very well. And the skill set that you need to have in finding, let's say 1995, 7.3 Power Stroke, getting a good deal on it, negotiating the deal, and then managing the subcontractors to take it from a farm truck to something that's great and awesome and presentable on eBay is the exact same process, the exact same skill set that you need to go out there and find a good property, buy it at a good price, negotiate a deal, and then manage the subs to get it up to a point where you can go ahead and sell it or rent it out. But there's the difference there is there's a hell of a lot less downside right now doing that with a truck than there is with a house. And the truck, I would argue, is far more liquid over time. Now, maybe there's certain times like a year ago where a house would be even more liquid, like you could sell it in a half hour. But that truck you're always going to be able to sell on eBay with a no reserve auction. And I would probably go that direction. Or maybe you want to step it up and do like RVs. That's something that I dabbled in briefly in whenever it was 2017 or something. Like go out and get a great Airstream and remodel that and rent it out or sell it. Again, you're minimizing your downside. You're using way less capital, and you're not buying something that's in a massive bubble. But you are learning the skills you need to be an extremely effective real estate investor when it is a good time to buy real estate. I know that sounds crazy and, "Oh, George, don't be stupid," and blah, 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 but that's exactly what I would do, and that's exactly what I would tell a family member. I would combine that with interning for someone that you had a lot of respect for. So, as an example, one of the best real estate investors I've ever seen in my life is Ken McElroy. So if you could combine what I'm saying with like an internship, just go up, and don't bombard Kenny with emails here, but I'm saying someone like that, right? If you could email them and say, "Hey, I just want to learn. I'm super eager. I'll work for free. I'll get your coffee. Just let me follow you around on like one day a week or something like that." I think that's a great strategy, and that's something that I would try to employ as well. What are my thoughts on Chinese investors going to Afghanistan? They strategically introducing industrial and hospitality. What are my thoughts? Interesting. I mean, I always like places where the second you say that, everyone dismisses you immediately, like North Korea or Zimbabwe or Venezuela or Afghanistan. Obviously, you'd put into that bucket as well. Not that I'd invest there, but if everyone hates it, I get at least interested enough to do a little snooping. But I don't think it's investable right now. But I don't know. That may change, and the fact that Chinese are going there, the Chinese aren't dumb with their money, that's for sure, and they usually are playing the long game. So I would definitely put it on my radar. Is it probable the Fed has pulled demand forward by money printing that we won't, not necessarily by money printing, but by keeping interest rates super low? I don't know that money printing really, and I don't think the Fed is really money printing. They're kind of just doing an asset swap. Although there is an argument that by them buying from the primary dealers, if the primary dealers are buying from the average Joe, that is going to increase M2. But I don't know that it would increase liquidity, because that would imply that the dollar increase in M2 is somehow more liquid than the Treasury that was on their balance sheet. And I don't know that that's the case, especially if they're buying from the private sector in the form of a financial institution like a pension fund or a hedge fund. They're still in the private sector, but and therefore, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't researched it lately, but I think if a banking entity buys from a non-bank entity, even a pension fund, that's going to increase M2. But again, the fallacy there is the treasuries or T-bills, let's say, to take it to an extreme, that were on the balance sheet of the pension fund, to imply that somehow those are less liquid than just dollar bills. I think that's just plain wrong. And so I think it is possible to have M2 money supply go up while liquidity does not. And I think it is very possible to have M2 go up without aggregate demand going up. So I know that was a long way of saying that I don't know that the pulling forward of demand was a result of money printing, uh, more so low interest rates. And is it probable? I think it's an absolute guarantee. I think it's that's what happens when you keep interest rates artificially low. And you know what's interesting is I don't know that interest rates are always artificially low. I think sometimes they could be artificially high. But what we do know is whether they're artificially low or high, they're not a market interest rate, and that we would be far better off if we just let the marketplace itself determine what the overnight rate should be, and we had actual price discovery. And then that would eliminate the pulling forward of demand from the future that just creates economic distortions, malinvestment, misallocation of resources. When are we going to have more stimulus? I mean, if you're looking at the yield curve, probably sooner than later, because I think when we get more stimulus will be when we have the next crisis. And I think that's what they're going to use. And I think that it's likely the next crisis downturn decreases inflation to a point where they can justify stimmies. And I think this is also when they're going to try to push out a central bank digital currency, and they're going to use stimmies as kind of the excuse. So to answer your question specifically, I think we'll get stimmies when we have the next economic crisis, recession, depression, etc. Black swan event, who knows? And I don't know when that is, but the yield curve is implying that there's a high probability we will see that within the next year or so. Just to point out, guys, this is a scam. This is not me. If you ever see a George Gammon online, I know on my YouTube videos, it's just in the comment section, it's just nonstop scammers. And I sincerely apologize. We do everything that we can to delete them, but there's just too many. And so whenever you hear me talking about a Bitcoin thing or a crypto thing, or me giving my WhatsApp number or something like that, that's not me. That's a scammer that's just using my identity, using my picture, my name, etc. With all the indicators that point towards recession, depression, wouldn't a 3 to 5% investment in an inverse ETF? I don't like shorting. I don't like shorting. I'd rather make money by increasing my cash position and buying things when they're cheap. As shorting, I think you're playing with fire. Because I mean, it is true. Like I said, there's a high probability that the market goes down, but it's you never know what's going to happen. I mean, think about it. Look at what happened when the inflation rate went from 8.3% or 8.2 down to 7.7. I mean, the market ripped higher, because the market is completely detached from economic reality. The market doesn't care about the economy. The market doesn't care about earnings. The market doesn't care about any of that stuff. The only thing the market cares about is the Fed dropping interest rates and the Fed doing a quote unquote pivot, the Fed doing QE, blah, blah, blah. Now, if it gets bad enough, the market will change its mind. People, I don't know why they have such a short memory, but they tend to believe that regardless of the economic environment or what's happening in the stock market, that as long as the Fed does QE, then the market's going to rip. No. Not at all. Not at all. Go back to March of 2020. The Fed threw everything at the market, including the kitchen sink, with QE and $1 trillion a day in repo that they're committing to, and dropping interest rates down to zero and all these things. And the market continued to tank. Why? Because it saw the cerveza sickness as a much, much bigger problem. So now it is true, minus the cerveza sickness, if the Fed comes out and does that, then it's going to rip. But we don't know, what's going to prompt the Fed to lower interest rates. I mean, if we go into an economic recession, let's say, that isn't a crisis situation, just a garden variety recession. Like some would argue that we had at the beginning of this year when we had 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. And let's say along with that comes disinflation from 7.7% down to 5 or 4. And then the Fed decides to, for whatever reason, lower rates. Um, that you're going to get smoked, or there's a very high chance that you get smoked in a short position. Now, if you're combining this short position with long position, like if you're like a hedge fund manager, then I get it. But again, that's too sophisticated for me. I just prefer to sit there with my T-bills, get my 4% or whatever it is, and be in these short-term 3 month, 6 month, maybe 1 year, and just continue to roll those things over until prices get down to a level where I think they're cheap prices of the stuff that I want to buy and hold long term. That's my strategy. I don't try to get too cute with it. Um, for people who are more sophisticated than I am, they might want to get involved with kind of a hedge fund strategy where you got longs and shorts. But I'm just not that smart. The question is, how much will they allow $1 to $1 conversion? Like, okay, I think you probably asked this question before I answered the earlier one. Here's another scam. Just any of these things that reference Bitcoin or how much money I made in crypto and I did this, or it's just hopefully by now, that's the good news with so many scammers being on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter is that I think people are able to recognize them just immediately, hopefully. But not all, or else they wouldn't be doing it. That's the problem. If they weren't able to take advantage of people and steal their money, they wouldn't be doing the scams to begin with. So that's unfortunate. But hopefully more and more people are realizing what is a scam and what isn't. Why gold standard is bad in your opinion? This is a great question. So I think something can have bad characteristics or downsides or problems while at the same time thinking it's most likely the best option. One of the big problems I see in not only economics and finance, but even in politics with the left and the right, they're both equally bad, is they try to find perfect solutions. As an example, someone will come in and say, "Oh, well, we can't have a gold standard because you couldn't increase the money supply, blah, 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 blah," right? And they would be correct that those are downside characteristics of a gold standard. But that doesn't mean that we should dismiss it. They dismiss it because it's not perfect in their mind. But what they don't understand is that perfection is impossible in a world of imperfect humans. If you got, and this is what I tell the Bitcoiners all the time. In fact, I tweeted it out just earlier. I said, listen, if you've got perfect money that's controlled by imperfect human beings, that money will behave imperfectly. It will become imperfect money. And Bitcoin doesn't fix people. Unfortunately, gold doesn't fix people. It might give them a temporary constraint, but there's going to be a cost benefit analysis there. So my point here, my overall point, is whenever you're looking at different options and systems, just make sure you realize that none of them are going to be perfect. And I would argue sometimes none of them are even going to be good. You just have to select the least bad. And I think this is a huge mind shift for most people that would help them make far better decisions. Just going from trying to figure out what is perfect to what is the least bad. Getting back to your question, in a perfect world, we would have the money supply expand at the exact same rate as productivity. So whenever there was a productive means for credit, that credit would be granted to the borrower, and we would have a perfect system for determining which people we should lend to and which we should not, based on how they're going to utilize that debt to create more goods and services. And in this nirvana world that doesn't exist, we wouldn't extend credit for consumption or very little of it, right? And we'd be able to determine, um, and we'd be able to kind of the free market itself, all the billions and billions of players that make up the market system collectively would determine not only what the best interest rate is, but who the best candidates were for that extension of credit for that debt. Because when you're increasing the debt, extending credit, you're creating more currency units. See, it's not just, let me say it this way. The expansion of the money supply in and of itself is not bad. Like, we could expand the money supply by $1 trillion a day in the United States, and that isn't necessarily bad. It is if we can't create that many goods and services. You see, if we are quote unquote printing money and there is no constraint on the banking system or how many currency units we can create, that's not a problem as long as we are creating those currency units for productivity and productivity gains. That's going to make everyone richer, not poorer. The problem is when you start increasing the money supply for things that don't add to productivity. That's what makes everyone poor, by over the long term, stealing the purchasing power of the currency itself. So what gold does, or what a Bitcoin standard may do, is to a certain degree constrain that. The downside there is you are going to have less economic growth. Now, the good side is you're going to reduce the severity of the business cycle. You're not going to eliminate it. Now, if you did full reserve banking or full reserve lending, then there's an argument that I think you could almost eliminate the business cycle. But again, that's the benefit. What is the cost? And the cost is that you're going to very severely hamper growth. So which is better? You can argue both sides, but what is perfect that we will never achieve, by the way, is to have the money supply increase at the same rate as productivity, or said another way, that the money supply would only increase to increase the level of productivity within the overall economy. So anything that detracts from that kind of perfect level of efficiency that we will never create is going to be a drawback of the system. So the gold standard is going to create an environment where we are not running on all 8 cylinders as far as growth. That we aren't creating maximum output because there is a constraint on the supply of money. And therefore, there will be some projects that will not get funded or get funded at an interest rate that's too prohibitive, that would have created more goods and services and benefited society. You see, that's another, just in my opinion, a bad argument that even a lot of the Austrians have, is that, well, with a limited money, not just a limited money supply, but a set money supply, then interest rates would go so high that it would attract savings, and therefore that would provide the capital. And I would argue, right, but that could be at a 20% interest rate. And to sit there and say that there's no businesses that deserve to be in business unless they can afford a 20% cost of capital, I think is ridiculous. Uh, just like saying that there's businesses that are going to be funded at a zero cost of capital that should not be in business. And that perfect equilibrium point or market interest rate uh, would only be determined if we could create this nirvana type system where we had this perfect ability to determine and therefore extend credit to the borrowers that are going to use that for productive means. But unfortunately, that doesn't exist, and it never will. So again, my point here, to make sure we're all on the same page, is although I think the gold standard may be the best bad system we have, it still would limit growth, and that would be one of the drawbacks. And then if you did a full reserve type thing, that would limit growth even further, to a point where I think it's pretty obvious the benefits or the costs would outweigh the benefits. Okay, guys, I think that's going to be it for this evening. I just want to remind you to, let me do the website here one more time for those of you who weren't on at the beginning. You got to go get your tickets for Rebel Capitalists Live. They go on sale tonight, Sunday night at midnight. Midnight, I'm guessing Eastern time, but it might be Pacific. I should have known that. Sorry about sorry about my lack of professionalism here. But and just to be clear, you cannot buy tickets right now. You got to wait to midnight tonight, because it's this Cyber Monday sale that we're doing. And this is the first time that we're selling tickets for the next Rebel Capitals Live, which is going to be in Orlando, Florida, May 12th through the 14th. And you can check out this little kind of promo video here. This has a lot of clips from past events. And these are the speakers that we have so far. Now, I've reached out to a lot more speakers that you guys are going to absolutely love. And usually about 80% of the speakers say yes, but these are just, my good buddies that have said yes so far. And if you want to check out the past speakers, you can go to this page and give that a look. And then tonight, I've already clicked this button. That's why it says tickets are not currently available. But tonight at midnight, if you click that button, you'll be able to buy a ticket. You'll be one of the first people to buy a ticket for Rebel Capitals Live 2023. And oh yes, and that will be at a $100 discount for the Cyber Monday, right? And that discount will end Monday night at midnight. So you can check that out, guys. You can get your tickets at rebelcapitalistlive.com. All right, let me do some quick shout outs here. Then I'm going to get over to Rebel Capitalist Pro. We got Market Mania in the house. By the way, my friend, congratulations on the successful YouTube channel. I checked it out the other day, and you had like 18,000 subscribers, which is amazing. So keep up the good work, my friend. We got Dickie Dunn, RR. All-Nighter Hider in the house. Joe Potter, Michael Kordek, Alex, Travis Sueza, Andrew Yetter, Vic McLausick. We got Ryan in the house. Goldspan, Christopher Kierwin, Arthur Quinn, Casey Sunshine, Wayne Smith, Quantitative Disease, Max Struble, Ken Long, Goldspan, Robert Tyke Trucken, Matt Bittner, Mike Horseman, R Jam, Jared Mason, Snuggles 668. Oh wow. Some of these usernames, I don't know how the heck people think of these things. Vinny Rodriguez. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening, and definitely check out the next Rebel Capitalist Live at rebelcapitalistlive.com. I hope I can say my own damn website. And enjoy the rest of your evening. As always, make sure that you're standing up for freedom, liberty, free market capitalism. See you in the next video.